Simcha. We are about to do a very unusual service, so let me walk you through what's going to happen. First of all, it's like Crossfire. Does anybody remember the game Crossfire from the 80s or whatever? Okay, so this Shabbat is a very special and unusual one, and the Shabbat coincides with Shemini Atzeret, which is a holiday that comes at the end of Sukkot. The purpose of Shemini Atzeret is hidden, and so there is a tradition of exploring hidden meanings of things on this holiday. One way to do that, as some of you know, earlier today I made stuffed cabbage at home because it is representative of a hidden thing, in my case, Impossible Burger, inside of cabbage. And so it's representative of a food hidden in another food. So what we're going to do tonight, because when these two holidays coincide, there's no Kabbalat Shabbat. Oh, does anybody want to know why that is before I go on? Sure, okay. So we are already at an elevated level of whole holiday celebration in the middle of Sukkot. And in order to enter into Shabbat from, what we do to enter into Shabbat from regular week is Kabbalat Shabbat. But we're already halfway there, so we're going to start halfway through the service. Now, next thing, I'm not giving a sermon tonight. What we're going to do is we're going to look at some liturgy together, exploring hidden meanings. So there's going to be teaching throughout the evening, different prayers. We're going to look at something at the beginning, and then I'll teach again when we get to Kaddish and Adon Olam at the end. And we're going to look at the hidden meanings of some of our liturgy, following the hidden meaning thing. You can interrupt me with questions, although we have members of our choir and our cantorial soloists. Please do not interrupt them with questions when there's all right.
But you can join in. That is an invitation.
Yes, please join in. Because tomorrow night, also, what is Simchat Torah that starts tomorrow night? Simchat Torah is the second half of this weird holiday, Shemini Atzeret. And so we are going to be looking at some things that are linked. So please take and pass. Those who are educators in the room know the moment you hand these out, people stop listening and read the sheets.
That's so true.
So put them face down. Face down. So we're going to start with this song to teach you a little about the hidden meanings of songs. How many here have ever watched Animaniacs? Anyone with small children? Animaniacs? Okay. So there is a song that, grab a Sidor, they're back there, and then come join us. Come around the table. So,
seat right here. There's a seat right here.
There is there is a relatively famous folk melody, and it goes like this. United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, Republic, Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Greenland, El Salvador, too, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela, Honduras, Guyana, and still Guatemala, Bolivia, then Argentina, and Ecuador, Chile, Brazil, Costa Rica, Bolivia, Nicaragua, Bermuda, Bahamas, Tobago. So that, has anybody heard that song before? Da-da. It sounds a little like La Cucaracha, but it's not quite. This song comes from a Harvard song called the Solomon Levy song. You may now flip this back over. The hidden history of this song. You may not like it very much. The stuff later you'll like more, but our first of our hidden meanings. This is the original song, where it says lyrics. Please join in with me if you can. My name is Solomon Levy, I'm a very good man. I'll sell you a suit of clothes, so cheap as ever I can. My wife's name is Rachel, she's nothing but a sham. And every time she gets a chance, she swipes me if she can. So help me, Jiminy Moses, to sell you a suit of clothes. I live way up on Market Street, 129. And it's Kaluma Kalinda Kasinda. I'll meet you at the Kavinda, Kaluma Sinda Sinda. Oh, Hasta Kazinda Kazinda. There was this loafer that came into the store one day and said, Solomon, have you any nice cutaway suits? I said, yes, and he tried on the coat. Just then he cut out of the back door, and I hollered to my son John, "John, get the gun and shoot him in the leg so you don't spoil the coat." Just then my wife Rachel appeared at the window singing, "Oh, it's Kaluma, Kaluma, Kasinda. I'll meet you at the Kavinda, Kaluma, Sinda, Sinda. All right. So this playfully anti-Semitic song, which was a Harvard song, has made the rounds, and the melody seeped into popular culture. And so this is one of the hidden things we're going to be exploring tonight. Not all of it's going to be like weird anti-Semitic culture. We're going to look at liturgy later, but I wanted to give you an idea of the kind of hidden meanings we're going to be looking at. So now we're going to start our service. I will now hand it over to our Oh, any questions? Why is the service at 6 o'clock and not 6:30?
First Friday.
First Friday.
Oh,
Why is the service in here and not outside in a big First Friday?
because it's very intimate.
It's intimate, and tomorrow is a big party, and we figured this will be a little low-key before the big bash.
So why in here and not in the cabin?
Oh, I was told that this was a more neutral space.
Oh.
Plus, this is like a teaching thing, and I like to be around the table so we can look at places. Okay, so now over to our cantorial soloist and our choir to open us up with Hine Matov.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. We're going to do Hine Matov. How good it is to be together. Hine Matov.
I invite you please to stand as we continue, and Marcy will lead us in our candle blessing. Oh, yes, and it's also Yom Tov. Yeah. So, Shabbat ve Yom Tov, and She'echianu Rel. We're going to do it together as a team. We at CBE are a family, and we are also the best soccer team in the county.
So you want this done as a team? You want us all to sing it? Yes?
Why don't you bring us in with your dyes? Marcy had a little
So
bit of.
I'm not
visioning.
supposed to talk before I do this. However, it's going to be a little bit different. If that's okay with you. That's all I'll say. Okay. So I'm going to light these, but in a minute. Okay. So. Yai die 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 die. Yai die 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 die. tov. Boy, 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 boy. Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu
melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
You may remain standing, or, no, I'm sorry, you may be seated. I forgot there's one thing that's not on the list. Oh, I'm okay. I like looking up at people. It reminds me also, it's important as a rabbi to remain humble. It used to be the case, by the way, that the leader of the service didn't stand up on a platform, but actually in a hole in the ground in the synagogue, a little depression, because of the phrase, "Oh my God, I cry out to you from the pit." And so for centuries and centuries and centuries, the service was led by someone actually lower down in the congregation. All right, so we are going to do one snippet of Kabbalat Shabbat, which is done when these holidays coincide, which is on page 20. And our cantorial soloist is going to get us started. We're at the indentation of Tzadik Katamar Yifrach, page 20. Tzadik Katamar Yifrach, Yifrach, Tzadik Katamar Yifrach, Tzadik Katamar Yifrach, Yifrach, Tzadik Katamar Yifrach. Please rise for Baruch. 23, 23. This way. This way.
Sing it out.
Continue with God of Creation on page 26.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidbaro arim v'aravim b'chokma poteach she'arim. God of creation, who makes the evening fall from light
27.
This is Ahavatullah. We're going to do Debbie Friedman's version. Ahavatullah. Beit Yisrael.
continue on page 37. Page 37.
Alright, so Phyllis and us peeps, Rabbi and Steve, you're all peeps, and Marcy's gonna help you.
Yeah, please, can you lead?
She is. We're gonna get you through it, Rabbi, we're gonna get you through it.
Yes, okay.
Get a little
I'm not
closer, here we go, people. We're gonna start all the way through once, and then we'll start with the Micha Mocha, and they'll start the second time around, alright? Alright, here's our practice run. Micha Mocha, Ma'elim Adonai. Whoa, that's low. Micha Mocha, Bedar Bakodesh, Norah Tehilot, Oseh Feleh, Oseh Feleh. Be my peeps. Micha Mocha, Ma'elim Adonai. Micha Mocha, Bedar Bakodesh, Norah Tehilot, Oseh Feleh, Oseh Feleh. Not bad. Micha Mocha, Ma'elim Adonai. Micha Mocha, Bedar Bakodesh. Micha Mocha, Bedar Bakodesh. All right.
All right. Getting there. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Okay.
Marcy Howard.
We're going to continue now with Hashkivenu, which is on page 39.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, ve'avivenu shoreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, ve'avivenu shoreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu, uvoeinu, l'chaim u'shalom, ve'yatav ve'adolam. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, ve'avivenu shoreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, ve'avivenu shoreinu l'chaim. Ve'avivenu shoreinu l'chaim. And welcome to our newest joinees. Come on and join us. We'll make room for you. Welcome, Shabbat Shalom.
I don't think there's enough room.
We can push
Oh, we can definitely make room around the table.
We just spread the seas for you.
Oh.
All right, my friends. It is now time for the jumping song.
The jumping
Please rise. Oh, yes.
All right.
Also,
Yeah, Glenn, come on
Alan was
in.
there the night he wrote something. All right, 41. This is going to be harder without the podium for me to like push off. All right, 41.
Okay, but do both feet have, you have to like
Both
leave
feet
the
have to
ground?
completely, it's like jumping rope. You have to be completely off the ground.
Completely off the ground? Okay. His rules. This is the rabbi. All right. Amru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat v'asok et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam b'mitzvot. Again. Amru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat v'asok et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam b'mitzvot. B'nei B'nei Yisrael
continue with the standing silent Amidah. I invite you, there is an ancient mystical custom of meditating on the Shabbat candles, because there's a flame that is the seen part, but there is also this little bit of non-flame between the wick and the flame itself. So it has this little secret inside part, and I want to say it's Isaac Luria, one of the great Kabbalistic masters, that would meditate on the illusion of empty space between the flame and the wick.
Yeah.
So if you wish to do that for Shemini Atzeret, you're welcome. We're going to do Adonai Svatei Tita, and then we will have 3 to 5 minutes for meditative silent prayer. If you wish, there are additional insertions for Shemini Atzeret inside as well. If you are still speaking to God, I invite you to continue at your own pace. If you have concluded, please join me for Shalom Rav on page 57.
Shalom.
voices reverberating off the walls, and we're surrounded by these books of our people's accumulated wisdom. I was raised with the idea that praying in a library is equal and sometimes even more of a Jewish experience than in a big room, because we're surrounded by Torah all around us.
And here, do we have
And
one in here?
we might have one in there. There was a missing Torah scroll.
That's where you went.
Is that where the? Yep.
Oh, not one, but
Yay!
two.
Oh, there's two of them. We got.
Whoa!
All
Hi,
right.
guys.
We have. I guess we have somebody else's Torah. We'll figure out how to get that back to them.
If anybody in cyberspace knows these Torahs, or who they belong to, let us know.
All right, my friends. We're going to continue with Misha Barach on page 63. And so, if you have names of people you're thinking about for healing, I invite you to share them with us at this time.
Gina Dubrow and Ellen Conyers.
My aunt Marilee Brown and my mother-in-law Ari Gubner.
And Janice Friedman, and Lisa Sampson, David Sampson, and Ron Osborne.
Bill Ellemeyer and Sarah Vaughn and Sherry Krause.
Thank you.
Sean Krylov, Donna Brandon, Vera Brandon.
Sarah Blanc, Bill Elmeyer, and Sherry Krause. Sherry Krause.
Claire Sherman.
Shanahan, Lupita Jimenez.
Susan Matthews.
My friend Thomas Miller.
Ann Fisher.
My friend Christina Martell.
Helene Greenstein, Shirley Greenstein, Sherry Krause, and those in our community without access to adequate housing or health care. Please join us on 63. For Elenu on page 64. Oh yeah, we have an ark. Face the ark. You may be seated. Okay. So tonight, as I mentioned, I'm going to teach, rather than a sermon, we're all around the table here, I'm going to teach some hidden meanings of things. So we're up to Kaddish, and it's time to explore the hidden meaning of Kaddish. What do we usually associate Kaddish with? But what is not mentioned in Kaddish anywhere?
Yeah.
So how did we end up with Kaddish as the prayer for death, rather than El Male Ra?
To let God know we remember even in our
That is correct.
Can you repeat that?
To let God know we remember, even in our grief. So now I'm going to tell you the secret history of Kaddish. Why it is that a prayer that doesn't mention death is our main prayer for death. And it comes, in fact, from the honorific we give people after they die. Does anybody remember what it is? May their memory be for blessing. Zichrono or Zichrona Livracha. What does that mean? What does it mean for your memory to be a blessing? That's confusing.
bring comfort.
The full phrase, now we're getting into the really strange, and I'm glad that everyone here is old enough to have faced these sorts of questions before, but now we're getting to the meat of the discussion. Okay, so the start. Kaddish is originally a liturgical semicolon in the service. And there are many types of Kaddish, but the story goes, Kaddish is supposed to be done with a quorum, 10 people, a minyan, men and women in the synagogue and in some places other configurations. But the story of how Kaddish Yatom, what's known as the Orphans Kaddish, became our prayer that we use to memorialize people, is as follows. There was once a man, this is in the Midrash from the 8th century, I believe. There was once a man who was a tax collector. And he neglected the education of his children, and he died. And when you die in Judaism and you're very bad, you end up in a place called Gehenna. Gehenna, originally a valley next to the city of Jerusalem, which was a garbage dump. When you have a garbage dump in a valley, as the garbage on the bottom decomposes, methane and little bits of fire come up. And so people began to associate Gehenna with the entry to the underworld because smoke and little bits of fire would come up. Now, there's a movie theater there. It's where the Atzeret Film Festival is happening. So, the story goes that this tax collector died, and if you're very bad, you spend a year in Gehenna, having your soul cleaned, unpleasantly, with whips and fire. If you're interested, you can read the Talmud. I don't believe that this is what happens after we die, but this is the story. In any case, the man's only son was walking one day and he met the prophet Elijah. And Elijah said, your father is suffering in the underworld. He's being beaten and scourged with whips and chains and fire. And the son said, what can I do? And the father said, and Elijah said back, if you want to free your father, he did not make sure you were educated in Judaism, so you don't know how to pray. If you go and make amends for his mistake and pray, learn the prayers, and go to synagogue, you will redeem your father's failing. And if you go for a full year and you say in a group of 10, Yehei Shmei Rabbah, right? God will tear the decree up and your father will be freed from hell. Now, so according to this custom, we say this prayer in memory in order to release our relatives from the underworld. Problem is, this is very distasteful. Right? The word, now how long do we say Kaddish for? Does anybody know?
It's a year, 11.
11 months. Does anybody know why? the maximum amount of time you can get in Gehenna is 1 full year. But you wouldn't want to suggest by saying the Kaddish for an entire year that your parents were so bad that they were stuck for a full year. So you do 11 months, you hope they're not there at all, but you like kind of hedge. So this is the story of how this prayer, through the Midrash, got attached as our memorial prayer. And although the story is distasteful, the outcome is quite positive, because what we're doing by saying it is remembering people who have had positive impacts on our lives. That's why I will often say, we are saying this for people whose positive legacies we are carrying on, rather than freeing somebody whose negative legacy you're trying to cover up. Now you might say, but Rabbi, I've heard there is a version of Kaddish that does mention death.
Exhibit B.
Exhibit B. This is the secret giant Kaddish. This Kaddish is what we would call the mourner's Kaddish plus the graveside Kaddish plus Kaddish Rabbanan. And this Kaddish is done when you finish studying a section of Talmud or a section of Jewish text. Why? Because we talked about hell. Does anybody know what the Jewish version of heaven is?
Let's see it next week.
It's a library where you sit with God, God's self, and you can ask God all of the questions you've had about your. If you're very good, you get to sit down with God and say, why did this happen? And why did that happen? And also, why does the Torah say this? And why does the Torah say that? And God will answer you. And so, when you finish studying a bit of Talmud, you recite this because you want to say, in the best possible outcome of life, you at the end will get to heaven, and you will sit in a library with God, and you will study, and you will learn. That is the highest Jewish aspiration. And so this Kaddish is very long. I'm going to say it first in Aramaic. It's usually part of what's called the Hadran ceremony, which is really long. I'll spare you. But we're going to say this, then I'm going to unpack what it means. And then, after we have thought about this and we have a little discussion time, then we will move on to Mourner's Kaddish. Okay? If it is your custom to rise, if you follow the Ashkenazi standard mainline reform, please rise. If you follow Sephardi, Mizrahi, Yemenite, or conservative, you may remain seated. Okay, here we go. I have no nikud here, so bear with me. It's in Aramaic. Yitzkadal v'yitzkadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'yama dehu atid echadita l'chaya misa le'asakana l'chaya alma u'livnei karta d'Yerushalem. L'chlala chechala gevaya u'l'ma'akar polchana l'chraya me'ara u'latave polchana d'bishmaya l'atre yimloch kedusha b'richu b'malchutei v'yikrei. L'chayachon v'yomachon v'chayetzechol Beit Yisrael v'agalav izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'olam Amen. Yitbarach, Yishabach, Yitbar, Yitramam, Yitmaseh, Yitzadar, Yitzaleh, Yitzalal, Shemei Yikushach, Yehu. Al Yisrael, Ve'al Rabbanan, Ve'al Talmidehan, Ve'al Kol Talmidehan, Ve'al Kol Mandi Askin B'Yaraita, Divi Atrei Chaden, Ve'chol Atar Ve'atar, Yehei Lohon, U'Lohon, Shlama Rabba, China V'chista V'rachamim, V'chai Ariche U'mizone Reviche, or for Kana Min Kadam Avahon, Divishmaya Vibru. Amen. Did I put Tikabel in there? Yes. Tikabel, Slotachon, Avotachon, Dechol Yisrael, Kadam Avahon, Divishmaya Vibru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu Ve'al Yisrael. Vibru. Amen. Osei Shalom V'imrumah, Uyasei Shalom. Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Amen. You may be seated. All right. So what did I just say in Aramaic? I only know one Aramaic speaker, native Aramaic speaker. That's Dr. Jonas Sabar at UCLA, who lived in northern Iraq, where they were still Aramaic, a little bit spoken. So does anybody want to take a crack at what we've said?
I got Talmud students,
You
Talmud
got-
in
yep.
there, and it looks like on Israel and Rabbanan Talmud, are those grade students or a bit?
So I'm going to go one bit at a time. So the first part is what's called the graveside Kaddish. And this is where Kaddish does in fact mention death. Hallowed and enhanced may God's great name be throughout the world, which will be renewed. God will then restore the dead, raise them up to eternal life, rebuild the city of Jerusalem, complete the temple within it, uproot idolatry from the earth, and return our worship to God to the point where heaven and earth meet. May God, the Holy One, establish a magnificent sovereignty during our own lives and the life of all Israel, and let us say, Amen.
Amen.
And then we go through the rest of the prayer until you get to Kaddish de Rabbanan, where you are praying for rabbis, teachers, and students. And for all the teachers and students in Israel, may they have appropriate sustenance, may they have enough food, may they be cared for, because our teachers and our rabbis are the ones who ensure the ethical teaching that permits us to be Jews in the first place. In our story, when the guy has to redeem his father from Gehenna, the way he has to learn how to pray is he goes to a rabbi who then enables him, teaches him how to pray. And so, if we want to honor our dead, we also have to ensure the continuity of our Jewish prayer life, intellectual life, and communal life. This is the full giant Kaddish, with all of its secret meanings. In this, there is a physical bodily resurrection, in which, yeah, I know, right?
Whoa.
Judaism contains an end time story with a full bodily resurrection. And if you are buried, in order to get to judgment, you have to crawl. If you're buried in the wrong way, you have to crawl underground, make a little hole, in order to get to Israel, which is why for Last Judgment. So it is important to observe Jewish burial rites. So in the event that the Reform movement is wrong, and there is a battle at the end of days, none of us want to be crawling through the dirt to get to Israel. So, some of you look shocked that Judaism has clear versions of heaven and hell, and hell looks like hell, but heaven looks like a library. Right? That's a little surprising.
It's a little disappointing.
Little part? Yeah.
Is that why, is it the prayer, this prayer, or even this, why when we read the Reader's Kaddish, right?
Mhm.
It's pretty much the same, most of it's the same. So it's also what, it's blessing the prayers we're about to say, is that?
So that's a great question. The usual function of Kaddish, like most of our liturgy, accordions in and out, gets bigger and smaller, depending on where it is in the service. But the answer to the question of what it's doing there is at various points you have to say God's name is magnified or whatever, just in order to get to let people know originally you're moving on to the next bit of the service.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear, and still true today, right, you get to Mourner's Kaddish and you're like, oh, it's about time for lunch, right? So same principle. Any questions about the end times, the weird afterlife I just put out, anything?
Yeah, it sounds like Christian.
That is correct. We both split off of the same primordial soup, so to speak.
Resurrection, you know.
He was a Jew, so why wouldn't the word resurrection be familiar?
So I should explain why we have resurrection as a concept. Okay, so here's your problem, right? God is all-powerful, all-knowing, everywhere, and wants good for all of us all of the time. And so, if God is all of those things, if God is like your favorite uncle on the best day, or aunt, why is there evil in the world? And so you said, well, why does God let us suffer? Why do young people die? Why do dogs get hit by a cart? So, there are several ways to answer this, right? The Buddhists would say it's reincarnation, life is suffering. The Hasidim, by the way, would also say it's reincarnation, life is suffering. More on that another time. But what you can say is, this life isn't fully just. You will but when you die, God will sort it out and tally up your number of points. We just did this, right? Who's written in what book? God tallies you up, right, at the end. So it is a bit of a challenge, this theology. But if there's evil in the world and God is good, the answer is either there's some second force, a devil, which we don't believe in another creature on parity with God, full stop.
Right.
So there's an algebraic equation. All good God plus evil in the world plus humanity plus death equals, and you can answer that any number of ways, and one way we decided to answer it is, we're headed towards a perfect world. The Talmud would say that'll happen with a cataclysmic war. Reform Judaism says, we together around this table make it happen. We partner with God in making the perfect world. So, that is graveside Kaddish, the giant Kaddish, which is graveside Kaddish, plus all the other bits. So that's the full accordion. Has anyone seen this before? All right. So next time, yes,
I have a question.
yes.
So if we go to an Orthodox burial, will they do the original Kaddish? Or will they do the regular mourner's Kaddish?
It depends on the community. So, in answer to that, mostly at graveside, yes, they'll do the graveside Kaddish in some Orthodox environments, not all. I've had discussions with Orthodox rabbis where they say, our community does not know this prayer, so we're just going to do mourner's Kaddish. Conservative, also, mostly mourner's Kaddish at graveside. A few people occasionally will request this prayer. It's very rare. Makes everyone uncomfortable. You saw how much of a tongue twister it is. And Reform Judaism has more or less done away with bodily resurrection as a concept, and so we just do what's called the orphan's Kaddish officially, but we call mourner's Kaddish. So, other questions, critiques of, yes, Sam?
Yeah, I remember studying with Shabbat at one point, and I remember they were teaching something where there were 7 levels of heaven, and the Jews, like 7th level was Jew, there was another one for non-Jews, for animals.
Yeah,
And that was very different than what you're suggesting.
So, that cosmology is the Kabbalistic cosmology that Hasidim have used and manipulated over several centuries, which says that Jews have this level of soul, humans have this level of soul, animals have this level of soul, plants have this level of soul. I was once in a room where I was told, at the time Barack Obama was president, I was told, he is not a human, he's not like a lower level of soul, he's like an animal, they said to me. I was very upset, I left the room and I would not have anything to do with them ever again. I don't think anyone should talk about any president of the United States like that, no matter what party. So, no matter what party, no politics at the Shabbos
But
table.
I got the impression that was not about after Judgment Day. That was like the day before you die, and you're up, you end up in your position in the cosmos.
Yeah. So the version of the end of days and stuff that I just gave you is the Talmudic version, which is finished up around the 7th century. And what we're talking about is text that started in the 12th century, and the additions of Hasidim are in the 19th century. Hasidim are actually really, really new. Chabad is one of the newest forms of Judaism around. So it is a different and later end of life thing. And there's also a reincarnation concept in Hasidus, where you have to go around and around until you do all the mitzvot of all the different incarnations. So you have to be a woman and a man and a child, and you have to be a queen and a king and a priest and this. But that's very confusing and difficult. So we do have a reincarnation concept. Again, not my favorite thing, but I'm not a Hasid, so it works. Yes?
So if we've done away with the whole resurrection, then why people do it, but why is it still not okay to be cremated?
Because we, as American Jews, oh, this is gonna be really uncomfortable, I apologize. As American Jews, traditionally we bury. It's an even bigger thing for us because of the crematoria, right? When I was working in England, the Jewish community did cremation a lot, including in Orthodoxy. And I would meet people that would say, my parents went up in smoke and I want to join them. I don't want to have a different burial than my parents had. And so it really depends on the community and the custom and all of these different things. First time I saw this, it made my skin crawl. I was raised not far from where we're sitting now, and I'd been told Jews don't cremate. And then I went to England, so I can do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want to have a body so that otherwise you got to crawl or reassemble from specks of dust if there's a resurrection. Yes?
So I thought we become buried or we get buried because we need to, in the Jewish law, it says we need to go back to the earth.
Yes.
And if we are cremated, people throw their ashes out on the ocean and stuff, it doesn't go back to the earth. And we actually had this discussion with my parents, my mom in particular, because my dad had Alzheimer's. And it was very interesting that my mother would not listen to me when I explained to her why we should be buried. And I knew why they were thinking of cremation, because it's cheaper.
That's another Jewish
But really, that is why a lot of people do it, Jewish people do it today. But then she called her uncle's daughter, he was cremated. And she asked her, and my cousin said to her, I don't recommend it. So it was her feelings of the fact that she got ashes and it wasn't put in the ground, he wasn't put in the ground. And it was after that, not after listening to their daughter, that my mother thought about it and thought, we will be buried. And I just thought that whole thing was very interesting, the way she went about it, and that she wouldn't listen to her children. My brother could care less, but I care, and my children care. And I would never, subject my children to being cremated, because I know the way they feel. And I am not comfortable with it. But I thought that was just very interesting in her decision on why she finally went back to being buried.
Thank you for that sort of personal story when it's members of your family and they're debating between cremation and burial. It's very personal. So thank you for being willing to share that with all of us. It is a tough challenge that all of us face in pre-planning of what to do. You are welcome to, if you have further questions about the mechanics of any of it, you're welcome to email me after Shabbat and we can set a time to talk through. But one of the things I want to close with this section, and then we'll start wrapping up, is Judaism has many non-compatible explanations for the same thing. The Talmud, 7th century, has one afterlife. Hasidim have another version of the afterlife. And on, depending on when you're looking at. The Torah version looks a lot more like the Greek version. It's kind of murky underworld, everyone's all together, there's no one really living there. The Talmud has like a whole demonology. So we went through different phases. As you can probably tell, my background is in history. So I tend to approach these texts, I'm very interested in the history and development of these texts. Thank you for sharing this time with me and looking at Kaddish. I've always found this to be a tough text and a tough subject, but I'm glad that I'm facing a room full of people who are willing to delve into it with me. So thank you, and now we honor the legacy of those who impacted us positively, and we're going to do Mourner's Kaddish. Sitting here in our own version of heaven, and we hope that wherever our relatives are, they're in a library somewhere too. So, I will read the names. Again, please, there are one or two that I sometimes mispronounce, so please stop me if We mourn the recent loss of Melford Burns, husband of Suzanne Burns and Eleanor Lynn Gullibau, mother of Richard Gullibau. Gullibau?
Gullibo.
Gullibau,
I'm
thank
not
you.
here about that.
Additionally, we mourn and commemorate Philip Annis, Enid Berman, Ellie Berzow, Sylvia Bernberg, Barbara Bloomberg, June Briskin, Mary Cohen, Barbara Covey, Josefina Diaz, Jessie Firestone, Judith Frank, Molly Frankel, Henry Glickman, Irving Goldman, Mel Gorman, Isidore Greenberg, Bertha Greenfield, Marilyn Jacobson, Charles Lazarus, Benny Lorraine, Joseph Mannheim, Harry Mark, Marjorie Meltzer, Bernard Herman Morris, Jack Ochis, Ann Platt, Ronza Robinson, Irma Ruth Krolik, Faye Rose, Robin Rosen, Stanley Rosen, Howard Sheldon and Claire Sherman, Doretta Tanner Sherman, Bernard Smith, Abe Sorokin, Eitan Talby, Margalith Taylor, Helen Visnow, Murray Weiss, Madeline Weiss, and Jean Udell. We continue to mourn Martin Cole, Ziza Gluskin, Judith Kovach, and Miriam Wallace. Are there additional names of anyone? Would anyone like to share additional names?
Ron Friedman.
Ron Friedman.
Norma Goshen.
Please rise as we praise the name of God in the face of loss. Page 73. Yitzgadal v'yitzgadash shemei rabah ve'olma divra tigrusei ve'amlit malchutei ve'chayachon u'vyomachon ve'chayei techo beit Yisrael v'agala v'zman kari b'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach le'olam olmei almaya yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitahar v'yitramam v'yitkasei Yitzadar, Yitzaled, Yitzalach, Shemei V'Rusha Brichu, Leila Minko Birchata V'Shirata, Tishachata V'Nechemata, Damiran Be'oma V'Imru, Amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabba Min Shemaya, Nechaim Aleinu Ve'Kol Yisrael, V'Imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom V'Ramav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'Kol Yisrael, V'Kol Yishvei Tevel, Amen. Thank you. We are going to do Kiddush outside, so we're going to wrap up. Oh yeah, so Kiddush outside and then Motzi back inside. So bear with me. Shemini Atzeret, like I said, it's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out of Sukkot.
Literally.
So yeah, exactly. So the custom I was taught was you do Kiddush in the Sukkah and then you come back and eat inside, because this is the time of year it's supposed to start to rain, so you don't want to chance it by eating.
Only in Seattle.
Only in Seattle.
It's 90.
So please join me outside for a Kiddush, and then we'll come back inside here, and we will have announcements and Adon along. So please join me outside.
How you doing? Good. How are you? Good. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah. So who you rooting for? If anyone in the play? All my team. None of my teams made it into the playoffs. So who are you going with? Yeah. Both have some good players. Yeah. That's interesting.
Okay, so, before we conclude with the Don Olam and everything else, announcements. But before announcements, we have a special presentation.
I can do the announcements too.
Oh, announcements and then special presentation. Announcements, and also, yeah.
Okay, so Shabbat Shalom, thank you all for being here. And obviously, thank you to Kim, Rabbi Rosner, and all her
Choir cronies.
singers all writers. You go through here, so it's right there.
And my choir cronies.
We stick together. Come on here, watch her.
Torah study is available via Zoom on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Join us tomorrow night at 5:30 for our Simchat Torah service and celebration with dinner, dancing, and activities for all ages. Simchat Torah services are on Sunday morning at 9:15 at Congregation B'nai Israel in Tustin. Rosh Chodesh is coming. Join us for our first one on October 16th at 9:30 a.m. Temple Bethel also offers grief support in partnership with Vitas. The next group started on October 4th, but there is still space and registration is required.
No, it's closed now.
It is closed,
It's
so
closed.
it's filled up. All right. If you're interested, feel free to speak to my wife Phyllis or contact Vitas directly. There's information on the website. Help our men's club take down the sukkah on Monday, October 9th at 8:30 a.m. It'll be fun and it's a mitzvah. And as one who has put it up, I can assure you it comes down pretty easily. Temple Bethel in South Orange County welcomes back Dr. Bill Hoy, an end-of-the-life and bereavement expert who will share and reflect upon his own personal grief journey over the last 2 years from two perspectives, one as a bereaved and the other as a bereavement professional. Very, very interesting and thought-provoking, and I can't say enough. I've been to many of these and they're well worth the time, and I encourage you to join us on November 7th. Again, that information is on the website.
Is that different than the other one he did earlier?
It will be a different time, it will be a different, yes, short answer is yes. I also have, if I can indulge me for a moment. As we know, we just went through the high holidays, and there are many people that made it special for us, but we want to call out and recognize Kim Governor. Because, she was, did beautifully, was thrown into situations that were challenging to say the least. You led our congregation as a song leader in a beautiful way. This is from the board of directors, and we want to express our gratitude for you for the hard work you put forth in helping us make a high holidays very special, and very special for Rabbi Rosner, his first one. I don't have a gift for you.
All right.
We can give him a high five though.
Exactly. Kim, thank you on behalf of the board of directors. Please accept it.
Definitely my honor. Thank you all very, very much. I was humbled by the experience, for sure.
Well, my friends, on that note, we're gonna, Yizkor, for those who want Yizkor, is gonna be on day 2 at CBI. Lisa Beth asked me to let everyone know as well. Okay, so, I have to say also, thank you to our board of directors for setting a good and appreciative tone for all of us, and especially Kim, who I know worked to tushy off for these services. All right, and now for the ending. Surprise! Adon Olam is longer than you thought.
Is there mystery in it though?
Yes.
A lot.
So, how many people remember Cantor Shula singing this melody? Ve'yado av kidrochi ve'tishan ve'ayra ve'yid. Same melody? Okay. So, this song is a very profound theological statement, and it's got extra verses that we don't usually sing. This is the Sephardi version. The Sephardi, Sephardi. Let me just make sure I have it in here. So it is a little bit longer, and you will notice it's got extra verses. And let me find the regular one in here so we can sing it as well. Oh, it's a tongue twister. And I'm going to teach you a melody I learned from Rabbi Gabe Botnick, who was a classmate of mine who's now the rabbi of Belsize Square in London. So you might recognize this melody. I'm going to try the first few verses. Adon olam asher malach b'teh Adon yimloch nora Behu haya behu oved Behu yiyeh tifara Behu lecha ein sheni Lecha shilo lecha Beli reshit beli tachlit Velo Thank you all for playing. This is a great, oh, I'm sorry, we have callers for delivery, and then we're concluded. I have to give out callers, and then we'll do motzi. So one is going to Sherry Krause in Mission Viejo. All right. That seems like the appropriate shaliach for this challah. And one going to Elliot and Norma Levinson in San Juan Capistrano. San Juan Capistrano. San Juan Capistrano. Anybody? Anybody?
I am not far. I'm in San Fernando, which is not that far away.
Thank you. All right, my friends, and now let's do motzi. Go ahead and grab the cover off that challah. And we got little challahs here. And I'm going to ask because you've got egg in them. Can somebody else who's got? We're going to hold these up. All right, please. I guess rise. Why not? Rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'te'avon. Thank you to our cantorial soloist, Kim Governor. Thank you to our wonderful choir. Thank you to our board of directors, and thank you to all of you for being here tonight. Shabbat Shalom, and happy Booth Festival. Oh yeah, sorry, happy Shemini Atzeret. Kiddush is going to be, Oneg is going to be in the sukkah.
Okay.